Okay, we're going to take a look at how to do a GIF animation off of a video clip. Before you do this, make sure that you've downloaded the video clip that I put on Canvas for you. That being said, we're going to go ahead and import your video clip, and you're going to do that by going to File, Import, and Video Frames to Layers. And what this is going to do, it's going to break down our video clip, which I have here, the tugofwar.mp4. It's going to break it down into the individual pictures that it would take to make it up. Now before it does it, it's going to give us a couple options. How much do we want to import? And we're going to do a selected range. And the reason we want to select range is we don't necessarily want all of this. You can see in this video there's a lot of setup before the actual break. So I'm going to move it a little bit closer to that. We never want our GIFs to be longer. We want people to get bored with GIFs. They're used to the action happening and being done. And so then we'll go ahead and move it to here, and I'm going to do it just till that girl in the black kind of stops hopping there. And we'll set the out point to that. So you can see I've taken these little tags here, which are the in point and the out point, and shrunken it down considerably. After that, I can just go ahead and say OK, and it's going to import into a animation sequence every single picture that it would take to make up that video is now its individual layer. You can see 157 layers. On that, I can also look at a timeline by going to Window and Timeline, or I happen to have it open down here, and I can see that it's also lined all of those up on a timeline and made them all 0.03 seconds long. So if I play this, it actually looks a bit like video. Now it's a little bit slow motion look, but that's just because that's how it's trying to play it through. Now I intentionally kind of added too many clips here, and I did that to show you if there's clips in the sequence, in the timeline here, that you don't actually want. I actually think that it begins okay, but it's near the end that it really kind of starts to get too long. I can go ahead and get rid of those. So let's say here right around like frame 110, where that girl in the middle here really starts kind of being done with her little dance. I'm just going to delete from 116 on. Again, it's kind of important in GIFs, you don't want too much. So to delete from there on, I can push 116, hold the shift key to 115, and then I have the delete option right here. I'll say delete. So now that I have the animation the actual way that I want it, there's nothing else that I have to do to this. Now there's other stuff I could do. I could come in and add text on different layers and all that stuff, but I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to in this instance. And so now we just need to export it for the web. So I go to File, Save for Web, and that'll bring up the Save for Web box here among the many options that I have to make. And just know that oftentimes you'll get your little beach ball here because it's kind of an intense process for Photoshop to do this. Among the options, make sure that it's set to GIF up here, because that's what we want. If you wanted transparency in the background, that you can do that. We don't necessarily need that for this GIF, so I'm going to turn it off because we're not looking for a transparent layer. So it'll kind of take the beach ball back, and we'll re-render that and figure that out. Also, make sure you don't need 256 colors. You could. It's just going to make your file size larger. So depending upon your file size needs, you can turn that down. Same with lossy, you can turn that down as well. But we're not going to mess with that stuff for the instance of this. Finally, if you imported a really big picture, you might want to change this image size. Really kind of under 1,000 is what we want. So we're doing okay here. But if your image happened to come across too big, or it would be a huge file, we want that. Finally, our looping options here at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and have this just loop, let's say, I don't know, 10 times. Just for instance, I'll put that. Okay. If you want, you can preview this in a browser, so you'll see exactly what it'll look like on the website that you're hoping to put it on. I'm not going to go through that steps, but you can do that there to make sure that it's right. Finally, you say Save. Make sure you know where it's being saved. If you don't see the whole menu, click the little arrow where it's being saved, and I can just call it Tug of War GIF, and it'll go through a little process here, and by the time it's done, which I may pause my video here. I went pretty quick. On my desktop, I now have a GIF file called Tug of War GIF, which if I open it up onto a thing like Google Chrome, you'll see it plays right there in a web browser, unlike a video. So that's how you make a GIF using a video clip.